I still remember the exact moment it clicked for me. I was sitting across from a woman, I'll call her Margaret, who had been managing her type 2 diabetes for 11 years. She had done everything right, or so she thought. She'd cut the sugar. She'd ditched the soda. She exercised 3 times a week. She checked her glucose levels every morning. And yet, no matter what she did, her numbers kept swinging wildly. Some mornings she'd wake up feeling fine. Other mornings she could barely get out of bed, foggy, exhausted, her body heavy with that strange kind of fatigue that doesn't go away no matter how much you sleep. When I sat with her and went through her food diary, really went through it, I noticed something. Something so ordinary, so embedded in her daily routine that she hadn't even thought to question it. Every single morning, she was eating eggs. 2 eggs, fried in vegetable oil, served alongside 2 slices of white toast with a glass of orange juice. She looked at me and said, almost proudly, "I've been doing this for years. Eggs are fine for diabetics, right? Everyone says so." That question stopped me, because the honest answer isn't simply yes or no. And the fact that she didn't know the full picture, that no one had ever told her the full picture, was quietly, invisibly wrecking her glucose stability every single morning. That's the moment I knew I had to go deep on this. Not just for Margaret, but for the millions of people who are making the same mistake right now. People who are genuinely trying, genuinely sacrificing, genuinely scared, and still not getting the results they deserve. Because the problem wasn't the egg itself. The problem was everything surrounding it. Let me be honest with you about something. The information space around diabetes and food is chaotic. It's contradictory. You'll find one study saying eggs are perfectly safe for people with diabetes, and another study raising flags about cardiovascular risk and cholesterol. You'll hear one nutritionist say eat as many as you want, and another say limit yourself to 3 per week. One article says the yolk is the enemy, another says it's the most nutritious part. No wonder people are confused. No wonder so many people throw up their hands and just keep doing what they've always done, hoping for the best. But here's what almost nobody is talking about. And this is what I spent months researching, reading through clinical data, sitting with dietitians and endocrinologists, digging through the science of glycemic response and meal composition. The egg on its own is not the problem. Eggs have a glycemic index of essentially 0. They don't spike blood sugar in isolation. They're rich in protein, in healthy fats, in essential vitamins. If you evaluated a single egg sitting alone on a plate, it would look like a near-perfect food for blood sugar management. The danger lives in the context, the method, the combination, the timing. Those are the factors that transform a blood sugar-friendly food into something that quietly and consistently destabilizes your glucose levels and keeps you locked in that exhausting cycle of spikes and crashes. The first factor is the cooking method. When most people fry their eggs, they reach for whatever oil is in the pantry: vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, or worse, margarine, which is riddled with trans fats. These refined, processed oils do something insidious inside the body. They drive systemic inflammation. And inflammation at the cellular level directly worsens insulin resistance. This is not theoretical. It is supported by a significant body of research, including a landmark study published in the journal Diabetes Care that tracked inflammatory markers in people with type 2 diabetes and found strong correlations between diets high in refined omega-6 oils and elevated fasting glucose levels. When you fry your eggs in vegetable oil every morning, you are not just cooking a meal. You are quietly feeding an inflammatory process that makes your cells less responsive to insulin. The egg becomes a vehicle for damage it was never supposed to cause. The second factor, and this one is absolutely critical, is the companion foods. Think about the most common egg breakfast in America, in the UK, across most of the Western world. Eggs alongside toast, eggs with a glass of orange juice, eggs with jam, maybe a bit of ketchup, which is loaded with hidden sugar. Each of these additions carries a glycemic punch that the egg itself does not. White bread has a glycemic index of around 70. Orange juice, often marketed as a health food, has a glycemic index similar to soda when consumed in the quantities most people drink it. When you combine these foods together in a single meal, you're not just adding their glycemic impact. Research on meal composition suggests there can be a synergistic effect, where the combination triggers a larger and faster glucose response than any individual food would produce on its own. Margaret's breakfast, 2 fried eggs, 2 slices of white toast, a glass of orange juice, was essentially a glucose spike served with a side of inflammation, every single morning. The third factor is one of the most overlooked: fiber and timing. The body's insulin response doesn't happen in a vacuum. When you eat a meal that includes substantial dietary fiber, vegetables, leafy greens, legumes, whole foods with intact fiber structures, that fiber slows the rate at which glucose enters the bloodstream. It's like a natural buffering system. A breakfast of eggs with sautéed spinach and half an avocado will produce a dramatically different blood sugar response than the same eggs eaten alongside refined carbohydrates. The fiber slows absorption. The healthy fats from the avocado slow gastric emptying. The protein from the eggs supports satiety hormones that reduce glucose volatility throughout the morning. This is basic physiology, but it's information that most people with diabetes have never been given in a clear, practical, actionable way. And since I know how confusing all of this can seem, because I've spoken with people like Margaret who are doing their best and still feel lost, I've included an amazing, innovative tip in the first link in the description. It's an evidence-based practice that is improving the health of thousands of people. Now I want to address something that comes up every single time I talk about this topic. People say to me, "But I thought eggs were safe. My doctor said I could eat them." And yes, eggs can be safe. Eggs can actually be beneficial. But the research that supports eggs for people with diabetes is largely looking at eggs in the context of balanced, low-glycemic meals. Not fried in refined oil, not sitting next to white toast and fruit juice. The studies that raise concerns about eggs are often capturing the real-world eating patterns of people who consume eggs alongside these exact companion foods. The egg is innocent. The egg is being framed. What the research consistently shows is that the dietary pattern matters far more than any single food. A 2020 meta-analysis in the European Journal of Nutrition examined egg consumption across diverse dietary patterns and found that in individuals who ate eggs alongside high-fiber, low-glycemic foods, there was no significant negative impact on insulin sensitivity or fasting glucose. In fact, the high protein content of eggs was associated with improved satiety and better adherence to overall caloric goals. The eggs weren't hurting people. The context was. Let me be specific about what the dangerous way to eat eggs actually looks like, because I want to name it clearly, so there's no ambiguity. It's frying eggs in refined vegetable oils, canola oil, or margarine. It's eating those eggs with white bread, white bagels, English muffins, or any processed grain product with a high glycemic index. It's drinking fruit juice, even freshly squeezed, alongside your eggs because the fructose load hits the liver fast and hard. It's eating eggs alone, with no fiber, no healthy fats, no additional protein to slow the glycemic curve. It's eating a large egg-based meal right before a period of physical inactivity when glucose disposal is already low. These patterns, repeated morning after morning, contribute to the very glucose instability that makes managing diabetes feel impossible. And now let me show you what the intelligent, protective way to eat eggs looks like. Poached eggs or soft-boiled eggs. No oil required, no inflammation triggered. Scrambled eggs cooked in extra virgin olive oil or a small amount of avocado oil, both of which contain anti-inflammatory monounsaturated fats that support, not undermine, insulin sensitivity. Eggs served alongside a generous portion of non-starchy vegetables. Sautéed zucchini, wilted spinach, sliced tomatoes, steamed broccoli. Eggs paired with half an avocado for additional healthy fat and fiber. Eggs without the juice, without the toast, without the condiments loaded with hidden sugar. This is not a deprivation diet. This is understanding your biology and using it in your favor. Margaret made these changes. Not dramatic changes. She still ate her eggs every morning, but she switched to soft-boiled. She traded the white toast for a small side of sautéed greens. She dropped the orange juice and replaced it with water and a wedge of lemon. Within 3 weeks, her morning glucose readings had stabilized in a way she hadn't seen in years. She told me she felt like she finally understood what was happening inside her body for the first time. That is what this kind of knowledge does. It gives you back a sense of control in a situation that so often feels completely out of your hands. If you've ever felt unsure about what to eat, or worried that you might be making things worse without realizing it, I shared a suggestion in the first link. Below, It's really helping people regain control in a simple and practical way. Because that's what living with diabetes really demands. Not perfection, not suffering, but precision, understanding, and the courage to look closely at the habits that feel safe and familiar, and ask whether they're actually serving you. The dangerous way to eat eggs isn't some exotic mistake. It's the fried egg on the pan, the oil sizzling in the morning quiet, the white bread popping up from the toaster, the glass of juice already poured. It's the breakfast that looks and feels completely normal. That's what makes it so worth examining. That's what makes this conversation so important. You deserve to feel better. You deserve to understand your body. And you deserve information that is honest, detailed, and actually useful, not watered-down advice that leaves you more confused than when you started. If this kind of content speaks to you, if you're tired of conflicting information and ready to actually understand the science behind food and blood sugar, then subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next, because we're going deeper. We're looking at more everyday foods that are quietly disrupting glucose stability in people who are genuinely trying to do everything right. This is a conversation that's only getting started, and I want you here for every chapter of it. See you in the next one.